All right, so I'll tell my story that I've never told anybody. So I don't know where to start it exactly, but
That's your podcast, see? Your podcast is on his iPod and his iPod. You can't let old man Potter steal all the podcasts.
welcome to Sequel Podcast. I'm Matt Bonta.
I'm Brian Ruppert. Hello.
What's going on?
Nothing, just working a lot. I'm on a crazy stretch right now, basically until Christmas. So I'm just gonna work my ass off as much as possible from now till Christmas, and we'll see what happens.
Well, thanks for coming back on the show. This is your third appearance, I believe.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Uh, and you want to promote your podcast. So let's go ahead and, get some house cleaning done.
All right, so my podcast is Reviewing History. We're a comedy history podcast. We go through historical movies. We tell you what's real and fake in them as we crack jokes and talk. It's generally a lot of fun. It's a good time to listen. And I'm going to make a nasty burp. I apologize to everybody. No, wait, it died. So, what I'm really here to promote is we have a Christmas podcast dropping at Black Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. It's 4 hours of podcasting. There's 3 hours of Christmas games and fun, and I've listened to it twice already. I've laughed so hard. I've cried at times on mic and off mic. I can't recommend it enough. It's called The Christmas Freak Off. It's dropping Black Friday. There's also a bundle with last year's Christmas podcast called "This Ain't No Whack Christmas." Half of anything that will ever be raised for "This Ain't No Whack Christmas" will go to St. Jude. This new one is for us. We need it badly for the show's bank account. But I promise you're getting a ton of entertainment value for your bucks. It's $5, and you're getting 4 hours with songs, produced songs, games. I don't want to talk too much about it or spoil guests, but it's really a fun time, and I'm super proud of it. I think people are going to love it. So bandcamp.com Black Friday. If you're listening to this before Black Friday, you can go on reviewinghistory.com, or you could go to the Bandcamp and you can follow the Bandcamp page. And once it drops, you'll get an email alert if you want to be ready and get it right when it drops. Because I know you guys. You're not going to be up at midnight hitting refresh like I'm going to be waiting for a sale. So you guys, just all you have to do is follow the page, and you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck in the entertainment department. So definitely check that out. That's what I'm here promoting. I think I'm going to be on almost 30 podcasts between now and Christmas, just getting the word out about this thing.
And I can vouch for it. It's a lot of fun. I listened to last year's, and I'm a big fan of reviewing history. It's one of my frequent listens. I listen every Wednesday. I'll watch the movies. So if anyone does need my personal vouch, you got it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think if you're a movie fan and you're looking for a little knowledge with film talk and comedy, I don't think you're going to find a much better spot than us. Like I love Tarantino's pod, but is he making jokes about the Joker being raped by Batman? I don't think so, Quentin.
um, yeah, I saw he started up again, but it's like half Patreon.
I was very disappointed in that. I wouldn't mind if he had a Patreon with extra content, but to
Yes.
cut your show in half and put half of your episode on Patreon, I think that's really unfair to your audience that listen to your show, because you put out a full episode for a year and everyone loved it. You didn't have any Patreon, and now this year you're like, we're basically cutting what you hear for free in half. And if you want the real shit, you have to pay, which I think is so scummy to do for an audience, especially for super rich, successful Hollywood filmmakers that are not starving for cash. Like, I don't have a problem with them doing Patreon at all if it was, the bonus content and they're not changing what was previously free.
Or
To
what was
change.
advertised. Because I
Exactly.
watched the movie thinking I was going to listen to them talk about it, and then that didn't happen.
Yeah, because they put up their regular title, which is usually three movies.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, these are the three movies they're going to talk about. So I don't watch the movie first, I'll listen to them, and then if I'm interested in the movie, I'll go watch it. I just don't have the time. But, I listen to the episode, and I'm driving, and, like, I'm looking at like my little Spotify thing on my like dashboard, and I'm like, they only spoke about one movie, and it's saying it's almost done. This is weird.
Yes, yes.
And then they're like, "Oh, there's 5 minutes left to hear the rest of this. Give us your money." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
I was very upset.
I was really annoyed by that. And this is almost like the second time this has happened to me, because there was a Devils podcast which I loved. I'm a big New Jersey Devils fan. I listened. They would do an episode after every game. They would do like draft breakdowns, all this stuff, and I loved the show. I would listen consistently, and then maybe a year or two ago, they were like, "No more free episodes. If you want to listen, we're going right behind a paywall." And I was like, are you just going to completely cut what was free? Like, we're working on a Patreon for reviewing history, but I would never kill the real free show for the Patreon. I
Right.
feel like the that defeats the whole purpose of the podcast. Is like, the podcast is supposed to be an advertisement almost for your Patreon, not like, oh, this is half of what I'm talking about. If you want to hear the rest, give me your money. I feel like that kind of goes against what podcasting traditionally has been.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. All right, so we're here, and we watched The Ice Harvest. We're going to discuss The Ice Harvest today.
Yes.
And also, I am going to tell a story somewhere in this podcast, whether it's at the end or almost at the end, something that I haven't told anyone. And this is in reference to me uh, hearing about a story that Chuck told on his podcast, Fun Bearable, that you were kind
Oh.
of a tertiary character too.
Yeah.
I guess you guys have a big, huge text group.
There's a big group chat with a bunch of the younger TESD guys. So it's Get 'em, me, Tom, Chuck, and Brad, who's like TESD adjacent. And we just talk shit. And Jimmy's in there too. Jimmy the hair guy.
Um, he had a story about potentially being in a hotel room where someone may have been murdered and disposed of, and it ultimately didn't turn out that way. So, to spoil the anticlimactic ending of my story, it jogged the memory of something that I forgot about that happened recently and never told anybody, for my own reasons, which I'll go into later. But for now, Ice Harvest, The Ice
Yes.
Harvest, from 2006, I believe, directed by Harold Ramis.
This has to be
Uh,
one of his last movies, right?
probably, probably was his last movie. Like at
As a
least,
director, right?
yeah, as a director. He didn't
Because I
do
know he
too.
popped up in sorry, not Funny People. It was this Knocked Up. He popped up in Knocked Up.
Yeah, he was Seth Rogen's dad and Knocked Up.
Yeah. So his actual no, I'm wrong. His last movie that he directed was Year One in
Oh, he directed
2009.
that?
He directed, wrote, and produced Year One. That was his final thing.
That was not a good one to go out on.
I never saw it.
You never. It wasn't that great.
I mean,
It was,
he had such a long run of hits though. You can't get too mad at a guy at the end just putting one last one into the world and it doesn't hit that well.
Yeah, no, I'll forgive him. I'll forgive him that one. Groundhog Day is fantastic, and I love the Ice Harvest. And you'd seen it before?
I saw it once before. Has to be definitely over 10 years ago. I'll say, we're pre 2010 when I saw it. No later than 2010. So I didn't remember much about it other than, but as I was watching it, certain scenes were coming back to me. But the one thing I remember was that it's revealed at the end that John Cusack is the one who's doing that graffiti all the time.
Do you think that that's what they were saying? You don't think he was just inspired in the moment from having seen that?
I always took it like the reveal was that he's the guy who does it because he has the Sharpie on him.
Right.
So
Um,
I always took it that because and those were all places that he went usually. So I took it that it was his graffiti.
right. And I in preparation, so I saw the movie when it came out. I saw it in theaters, and then this week I read the book that it's based on, just to add a little bit more to the conversation. Um, and for the most part, it's pretty faithful. Uh, not exactly verbatim. They cut out a little bit of nothing that matters, and added some more for Billy Bob Thornton to do in the movie. Otherwise, his character in the book only shows up when they go to dispose of the body.
Okay.
Um, but otherwise, he's not really in it as much. It's a little bit more episodic in the book. But I love a good crime movie. That's my bread and butter. That's my cup of tea. My genre to watch and to make. When I make movies, is kind of the crime genre.
You like crime, yeah.
And it's a fun, dark Christmas crime comedy.
I mean, it definitely has comedic moments. Some of the performances don't completely work for me. Some of them do. It's very noirish with the femme fatale and the double crosses and the twisting and the turns. I have trouble following the plot, like kind of the whole world of everything. I'm sure it's more clear in the book, but like I'm still
Yeah,
unclear,
yeah.
like how they got the money, where all this came from. You know, like what are the machinations behind this? Where does this blackmail fit in? Like there's a lot going on. So
Uh, it's it's probably just as muddy in the book, right?
okay,
Um, yeah, the blackmail thing. I think they make a bigger deal out of it in the movie than they do in the
okay,
book. Um, and they kind of make a bigger deal out of the money in the movie as well. Like they steal $2 million and change from like the head mob guy
who
and
it's revealed is Randy
Randy
Quaid.
Quaid. And in the book, it's not quite as much, and they've been kind of running their own like cocaine scam, drug dealing thing on top of that. So they kind of tighten it up a bit in the movie, but there are those kind of loose threads that just kind of go nowhere. Just kind of a circle of crime and shittiness going on in this movie.
Scumbags being scumbags.
Scumbags being scumbags, fucking scumbags, man, fucking scumbags. I love a good scumbag. Who did you not like in this movie?
I don't think Oliver Platt's very good in it. Um, and I usually like him, but like I just don't buy his character. He never comes across as like drunk to me. It's like he just seems like we've been around drunk people. I don't
Sure.
buy that that's a drunk. I don't buy that that's a drunk guy for a second. Um, you know, I don't. I like the arc and like I do think the best thing in the movie is him and John Cusack's relationship.
Mm.
That's my favorite thing in the movie. I like the ending, and I like John Cusack's arc, but Oliver Platt just doesn't work for me in the movie. I don't think he. I don't know. I just don't buy his character.
Sure.
Everyone else, I believe them, and him, it just is a real false note for me. It's like he's in another movie.
Like his performance is too over the top for you.
It's like if you're supposed to be portraying a drunk, I need to believe you're fucking drunk.
Hmm.
You know, he just seems like a happy dude.
Hmm.
You know,
Right.
like even though he's not really happy, but like I don't know. I didn't like his performance. It just didn't work for me. Like the whole when he's like he's a mob lawyer. He's a mob lawyer. He's not saying it the way like I would imagine a drunk person would, where it'd be like he's a fucking mob lawyer. You know, it's
Right.
like
Right.
I'm around Get him sometimes when he's 3 or 4 natties deep. I know what a drunk person sounds like.
Oh shit. Um. Yeah, I could see that, and that they twisted that a little bit from the book too. Not too much. In the movie, he's married to John Cusack's ex-wife. In the book, they're married to sisters, right? So
Okay.
they're not quite like, oh, my buddy cheated cheated with my wife on me, and so on and so forth. Um,
That makes
and
way more sense.
it's a little bit easier to take. Once again, they're just kind of overlapping some things. I mean, I do love when they show up at the house and he rips the drumstick off and he's yelling at the
Yeah.
parents and shit like that. And he's kind of bitter at John Cusack for not letting him know how his wife was when they got together and how it was going to end up. Um, and he doesn't pop up again at the end. The end of the book, spoiler alert, he gets ran over and killed.
Oh, he does die.
And there's a deleted scene on the DVD where his buddy runs over him and kills him.
Oh,
Um,
so the end of the movie, there's a deleted scene where when that backs up into him,
yeah, alternate ending, alternate ending. Yep,
where he doesn't get up.
right. Yep.
Wow.
And then in the book, it's that guy's mother, right? Early in the movie, he's yelling and cussing his mother out, the bartender.
Yeah.
And in the book, he's doing that too, but he has to leave to go pick up his kids, so his mother can leave with her husband, and that's who he runs into at the end. And they take the money and dip, and that's how the book ends.
Do you know who he was on Seinfeld? The guy in the RV?
Hold on, hold on. I know who he was in Ed Wood. He was Bela Lugosi's
Yes, yes, yes.
double. Oh, yes. He he's Elaine's protege.
He's
Uh
Ed Sherman. Yes, the
the
fatigues guy, the
camouflage.
military guy.
And you and your deranged protege.
Shay.
Yes,
Yes.
I got there. I got there. You haven't been doing a lot of the Seinfeld jokes on reviewing history.
Uh, I don't want to force it too much, and like I did it many episodes in a row. It's just waiting for the right moment and letting it die down a bit because, I did it probably almost 50, 60 episodes in a row. So, you gotta cool the brakes and I don't want to force it too much and.
Sure, sure. I've been missing it though. I'm just saying, I've been missing
I'll try to get one for you soon.
it.
I feel like we
um,
just had one not too long ago.
I mean, you guys talked about it a little bit. Talked about Seinfeld some.
Yeah. It's
But
never too far away. And if you want to hear us talk about Seinfeld, there's a full Seinfeld show on the Patreon coming.
oh, really?
We
What
have
what does that mean?
so on the Patreon, there's one show called Seinfeld School where I take Steve, one of my co-hosts, to Seinfeld School where we watch an episode of the show and we go through the plot and we talk about Seinfeld and we spin off into other conversations. Each episode begins and ends with a stand up bit for me, just like real Seinfeld. Um, and I think it's a really fun concept and a good time. And if you want to hear us talk about Seinfeld, that's a fuck ton of Seinfeld, and it's interesting for a rewatch show because one of the hosts actively hates the show.
Oh, really? He doesn't like it.
He hates it, and I am trying to win him over. That's my goal by the time we get to episode 180 to get Steve to appreciate Seinfeld.
Okay, okay. I like that. I like that. So what else about Ice Harvest? Did
I
you like
like the
Billy
look of the
Bob in it?
movie. I like Billy Bob generally as an actor. He's great at playing scumbags. That is his strong suit. There's few guys in Hollywood better at it than him. Like he was great as Bad Santa.
Yep.
He's really solid in this. The one thing that is annoying too is like it's so obvious as a viewer that it's like he's gonna screw over John Cusack. Like
Of
it
course.
the second he's on screen, he's like, "I'll take the money. Don't worry about it." And you're like, "Are you retarded, John Cusack? What are you doing, dude?"
Right. And like I said, they added all that shit in at the beginning for the movie. Um, the book just starts off with him at the strip club, and he
Okay.
just kind of like goes from like strip club to bar to strip club to bar without the kind of back and forth that happens in the movie.
I see. I definitely think that makes it a little tighter because the way the conversation is like staged, I don't think you would ever like you can't take the criminal seriously after that because it's like, dude, you're just giving him the money and you're like, yeah, I guess I'll see you later.
Right. It
Like,
was it
come
was a
on.
little weird after having read the book, because I always have liked the movie. Um,
It's not bad. I don't want it to seem like I'm shitting on it or anything. I'm just like, pointing out the things that don't really fully click for me.
right, and I can get behind that as well, absolutely. Um, and Billy Bob's. Have you watched Fargo at all? The season that he's in.
I have not watched any of the Fargo TV show. It's something that I want to because I love, love, love the original movie.
Mm.
I just TV shows if it's not Seinfeld, I'm not really watching. I need 22 minutes in and out. I can't sit there and watch a 45-minute show.
Really, you don't do any TV?
I only basically do Seinfeld. The only shows that I really actively like watch. I watch Seinfeld every day. I watch What We Do in the Shadows, which is ending. I watch The Simpsons. I watch South Park, and that might be it as far as TV shows that I'm actively watching. I just finished The Middle, which I thought was a great sitcom. In general, though, I don't like serialized TV. It doesn't do it for me. I'd rather just watch a movie instead.
Sure.
Um, TV to me is too much of a risk because it's like shows get canceled, the story doesn't get complete. I've been burnt before. Like, I'm the
Showrunners come
guy.
and go.
Exactly. It's like I'm the guy who came into Game of Thrones like when I knew the last season was happening, I was like, okay, I'll catch up. And I watched everything getting ready for the last season. So everyone that hates that last season, to me, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's like I wasn't strung along for 9 years. So to me, I'm like, yeah, they wrapped up a little quickly, but whatever, I'm fine. I don't mind like where all the characters ended up, you know. But I'm just
Sure.
not I'm not a serialized TV guy. Like I don't want cancellations. I don't have the time commitment. It's like the Penguin show. That's something I may get to eventually, but it's like 45 minutes, 8 times. I'd rather just watch like 3 horror movies.
Right. I I'm the same way. I much rather watch a movie, even if it's the same movie over and over again, which I tend to do. Um, I do try to watch as many new movies as I can. Look at this guy fucking falling asleep over here.
I'm not falling asleep. I'm just yawning. I'm just a little tired. We're good.
I'm just busting your balls. I know it's late. It's late for me. I get up
Late
and
for you. What is it, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon by you?
oh God, I wish it's 7:30 in at night.
That's nothing. It's ten
I,
thirty. I still got like I'll be up till 1.
I know, I know, I know. I've never been a night owl. I've always been the guy that falls asleep first.
I'm always a night owl. Like if I had my way, I would never see the sun. Like I
Jeez.
like to go, like I would go to bed at like 5 a.m. and then like I want to wake up at like 3 in the afternoon. You know, that's how I want to live. I want to avoid the sun, like if I can. Obviously, my job precludes that, but I like to be up when nothing is going on.
Yeah, I like to get up at like 3, 4 in the morning, and that's when I like to work. Right? That's when I write. That's when I edit. That's when I do all the shit that I need to do and get it out of the way. And then I can chill the rest of the day from like 9, 10 o'clock on.
Yeah, so basically, I work all day as a teacher. I get home, I do some work. Then my wife usually brings the daughter home. We eat. I'm with the daughter for like an hour or two. We put her to bed. And then from basically 7 to 1 in the morning, I'm working again. You know? So there's not much me time.
Yeah, yeah. The struggle is real, as they say.
Oh, yeah. But, it's good problems because I'd rather have work and, make money than not have work because eventually it will go away. You know?
So, do you have like a set schedule when you work with Tell 'em Steve Dave?
it's not like it's not like, okay, Brian, you're going to be the third Monday of every month or anything like that. It's like um I have my shows that are kind of like my babies, like Bri Tries. That's like my baby. Sunday Jeff show is mostly Victor's baby, but there's different times where will get swapped in or out. Like I was in Disney and they needed to film a Bri Tries a Fishing, so Victor filmed the fishing segment. I filmed the rest. I'm filming a Sunday Jeff show in like a week or two, just because Walt needed my help with booking an element of it. I don't want to spoil anything, but
Buzz Aldrin.
book I had to book a guest for this Sunday Jeff show, and it was kind of a chore to get it done. So when I accomplished it, I was like, hey, can I shoot this? And he's like, yeah, if you want. I was like, I did all the work putting it together. I want to be there for the fruition. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
something like that, I'll be pulled in for Victor. But usually Sunday Jeff show is his baby. Bri Tries is mine. Chuck is Tales from Behind the Fake Counter. The Kiss show. And I'm sure there's other shows that we like. Sunday Drive has become my show that I mostly do, but that started like Chuck did the first one, but I've done the past like 6 or 7 Sunday Drives, so I feel like that's kind of my
Yeah, I
turf
always
now.
see you sitting in the back
Um,
seat.
yeah, it's I feel like everything kind of shook out a certain way where we have different shows and responsibilities, but there's no set schedule.
You were supposed to be on the last official Tell 'em Steve Dave episode.
Yes, supposedly that is still going to happen. It just has to occur at a time when I am not in school because I'm a teacher. So if they record basically any time before 3 o'clock, I just can't get there. It's not possible. So uh, hopefully soon we can do that because I'm very excited to tell them my research findings. For those that don't know, Tell them Steve Dave, they've been talking about trying to find out what the youth like, what the youth would want to hear them podcast about. So I asked my students what topics they think are cool or what are things that teens think are cool. And I'm going to present it to them and tell them what the teens said was cool and what they said was uncool.
Can't wait for that. I'm sure your research findings were remarkable.
there was definitely some like surprising things. I think it's going to end up going in a direction that people aren't expecting. I'll say that.
Um, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought, but that's okay. Ice Harvest. Did you read? So, Brian, you're gonna be playing a part in a movie I'm making currently. Did
Yes,
you read that script at all?
I have not read the script. I skimmed through, and I'm sorry, I have not had the time. I'm supposed to be like I have so much I have to do, like just like so much work shit that I have projects that I have to finish, and I'm just not going to be able to. Like, I was supposed to be releasing a full documentary project in 2 weeks. I haven't had a second to edit it. I have to finish a full comic script. Well, not a full comic script, but I'm writing an anthology story for Space Chimp Comics for a book they're dropping. Um, and I outlined the whole story. I have an artist, but now I have to turn the story into the panel by panel breakdown,
Hmm.
and I have not had the time to sit there and be like, okay, panel one, uh, Jack does blah 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 blah. It's a wide shot. We see this, this, and this in the four. I just haven't had the time to do that arrangement. So it's not a personal thing. It's a limited resource and time thing.
I'm just busting your balls. You're like
No,
all
it's
my
fine.
actors who
I don't take
never,
it.
none of my actors read my scripts. They're just like, whatever. Um,
Did you read the script I sent you?
yes, I did. I did want to talk about that. I did want to talk about that. I did read it. I did read
Oh,
it.
damn it! I was hoping I was gonna get you, and I was gonna be like, I got you.
I did read it, and I do want to talk about it. But we can wrap up on the ice harvest. Um, uh, I could tell that I had probably recently watched Ice Harvest when I wrote my script because there's a lot of uh, kind of references and nods to that, especially the character that you will be playing in it. Is
Which
very
which character is that
in Ice Harvest or the in my script.
in Ice Harvest? Like, who am I based on? Sorry, I'm just checking my
Um,
daughter's cam, making sure she's okay.
it's
She's good. All right.
Mike Starr's character when he's in the trunk.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
because when I watched it, I must have shown it to my wife for the first time, and she doesn't really like funny stuff. So if she laughs at something, I take notice to what she thinks is funny. And she was laughing at him yelling at those dudes while he was stuck in the trunk. And I was like, oh, I'll do something like that and something that I write next. And I wrote this movie like 10 years ago, and I'm finally getting around to making it.
Nice. And real quick, that actor, he's in Dumb and Dumber, correct?
Yes,
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, that's the guy from Dumb and Dumber, right?
that's
Yeah.
the guy that they kill.
Yeah.
They feed him the poison.
Yes, the rat poison.
So yeah, so like there are a lot of parallels, my stars, as well as like Blue Velvet. I love Blue Velvet. If you've ever seen Blue Velvet and David Lynch's stuff, a lot of that in my script.
I'm not a huge David Lynch fan, but I've seen a lot. I can never remember what I have seen and haven't seen. I've definitely seen Lost Highway. You know what? I haven't seen Blue Velvet. I've seen Mulholland Drive.
Sure. And
So
I love Mulholland Drive. And Blue Velvet's probably like one of my biggest influences for when I make my crime movies. Like fucked up people, fucked up situations, these guys that think they're bigger than they are and get way in over their head with whatever they're involved in.
that's awesome. Yeah, I gotta try to find time to watch Blue Velvet. It's one of those that I've always wanted to get to, and I just haven't. Lynch is a guy I really respect, even though I don't always click with him. Like,
Mhm.
I've never watched Twin Peaks, but everything I know about it just seems like I would fucking hate this. So,
Right. Well, and TV show, hour long, serialized TV.
yeah. It's funny, I would watch Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, though. I would watch that one, which I guess I could watch without the show because it's a prequel.
It's a prequel, and it's tonally nothing like the show. At least not the first two seasons.
Yeah, I don't like. To me, it always feels like weird shit just for the sake of being weird.
Like all of David Lynch's stuff, or just Twin Peaks.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like sometimes I think it like is a little more clear to me, but I feel like Twin Peaks is purposely obtuse to almost drag people along to watch the whole show. That's kind of my take on it, from what I
The
understand.
the the Return, the third season, the most recent thing he did,
Yes.
very much so. But the original two seasons, almost like a satire on soap operas. And if you go into it with that kind of mindset, it might go a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe eventually I'll get to it, but again, TV series is always the bottom priority.
Right. And it'll take the commitment to watch like 40 episodes of a thing, 50 episodes of a thing.
Yeah. The good thing is that like at least it's over. I don't have to worry about a cancellation.
Uh Maybe you shouldn't watch it then.
Oh, really?
Cuz I just watched The Return for the first time.
You could tell me. I don't care.
I get to the last episode and it ends on a cliffhanger. It doesn't
Are you
resolve anything.
serious?
I'm serious.
Yeah, I don't even want to watch this. No thanks.
Oh man, spoiler alert, guys. Yeah, and I he may probably not ever do any more Twin Peaks, and it does not end at all.
Supposedly he said he was going to try to direct something again soon, but, you know, I definitely think he should be directing until he can't. Like
I think he just got
like
diagnosed with emphysema too.
yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, your time is limited. Go out making something cool.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like Scorsese, is he doing another thing?
Scorsese is doing so what he's doing now, which I find interesting, is he was commissioned by the Pope to create Catholic works of art. So he's doing a series, I think it's on Apple, of like 14-hour long films about the different saints, which I think is really cool. And then supposedly he's doing a big Jesus movie. Um, and I don't know exactly the
Temptation
details
of
of that.
Christ too.
I don't think it's going to be that because that was controversial. I don't know what it's going to be, but the church is paying him, so I imagine he's going to toe the line. But they're going to let him do whatever he wants. Supposedly,
Interesting.
we'll see. Yeah,
Did you ever watch Silence?
I fucking love Silence.
Good.
It's a movie. I think it's phenomenal. It's a movie that I'm dying to do on our show eventually. And what I love is that it's almost the question that a religious person would be challenged with and have to ask themselves in some way about the omnipotence of God and if God is unlimited and if my religion is correct, like XYZ, without spoiling things, And I think it's such a great thing, and it's almost like it's Scorsese wrestling with his internal questions about religion because it's like he's always been a Catholic filmmaker. He's always made like pro Catholic films. I mean,
Right.
he's working with the church right now. But I think it's also him grappling with like the questions that like everybody has. This is a cheese dick question, but it's like um if God is powerful, if God is all powerful, why does he let like children get cancer and things like that?
Sure.
And it's that's like a basic question people ask, like why do good things happen to bad people?
Right.
And they like Book of Job answers like shit like that. It's like you're supposed to believe in
Testing
God
you
and testing
hey,
God. Yeah, yeah. It's like all that stuff. But There's some of that in Silence, but there's also other questions which are asked, and I really, really dig those questions and where he goes with it. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, I thought that was his best movie in a really long time. Did you see Killers of the Flower Moon?
Of course I did. I'm
What'd you
an
think?
Indian, so I had to go see it.
Okay.
And I
Do
read
you,
the book too. What's
do you
that?
call yourself an Indian or a Native American?
Um, I know people might get upset if I refer to myself as an Indian.
I mean, I
Like,
don't care. Like I mean, I always said Indian my whole life, and then
right. I
at
was
a
raised
certain,
calling myself as an Indian, right?
well,
But I
yeah, it was.
know
But
that
you
white
how
people might get upset if I call myself an Indian and tell me what I should call myself.
well, yeah. I mean, how can a white person tell you what you should call yourself? But how old are you?
39.
Okay, so I'm 37. So we were raised around the same time.
Right.
So for us, it was like Thanksgiving. You had the Indians and the Pilgrims, Cowboys and Indians, and like
Cowboys and Indians.
that's that's just what it was. And then a couple of years ago, it's like, oh, you can't say Indians. Indians are for people from India. You have to say Native American. So it's like, I don't want to offend people. So I always say Native
Native
American, and
American.
it still slips, of course, because that's how I spoke for years and years and years. But if you even watch the show or listen to my podcast, you'll see it's very rare I refer to Native. I see. I almost said. It's very rare I'll refer to Native Americans as Indians. I try to avoid that, but I wasn't sure if you would prefer that or I don't care
Well,
what you want to call yourself. I just don't want to get in trouble.
I I think to not confuse anyone to say Native American, but watching the show Reservation Dogs, they say Indian a lot in there. So that like kind of made me feel better about saying Indian more often and just say fuck it.
Okay. Yeah, I'd look. I don't think there should be a problem with it, especially if
I
it's
don't think so either.
yeah. It's like I feel like it's almost like the N word now, where it's like you guys can call each other that, but we're really not supposed to. So all right, fine. I just won't say it.
I'm very comfortable with the term Indian and referring to myself, but I there's a lot more color out there now, and just so that someone doesn't get confused, Native American is my easy go-to. Indigenous is something that a lot of people say now too as well. Um,
That's that's too many syllables for me. I got to keep it simple.
I yeah, Indian's fine. I'm very comfortable with Indian.
All right.
So if the Indian community out there takes umbrage with me saying that, oh well, get over it.
Yeah. But so Killers of the Flower Moon. You
Yes,
you love. What'd you think?
I I liked the movie a lot. I
Okay.
do have some issues with it, and my issues are the villains of the true story are the heroes or the main characters of that movie. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get political about it. Um,
Yeah.
but I read the book and everything that happened, and it's a shame what they did and still kind of do take advantage of vulnerable Indians. Um, but beyond that, I thought Leo did a great job. I thought De Niro did a great job. Um, I don't know. Maybe they shouldn't have been the main characters of that movie since they're kind of not really main characters in the book.
Okay. Um, I could see that, but I think like for marketing, it makes sense to put
Yeah,
Leo and De Niro up front.
yeah,
It's gonna just put more asses in seats. Number one. But what
absolutely.
I liked about the movie is I didn't read the book, so I'm unfamiliar with the story. And there's this almost weirdness to the way it's shot and filmed, where you never fully know until almost the very end where Leo is standing on these things.
Mm.
Um, is he a complete and total scumbag? Is he an idiot who's along for the ride? You don't kind of know. I mean, if you have the book, I'm sure you have more knowledge of it. But I think as someone who went in cold, you never really know how complicit he is in almost the scam.
Right,
You know
and
what I mean?
that's all narrative and filmmaking, and trying to tell a story, and you get a big name to play a part in the movie, um, and like let's just say that all of his internal dealings with whether he's a scumbag or you know loved her or whatever, uh, uh, that's all good and fine for what they're trying to do. Like I said, I did like the movie as all that, and like and the book's more just like a retelling of the facts, right? Here's a
Yeah.
guy related to this guy, husband to this person, and it's more about like, her family keeps getting killed off. Um, but in my opinion, the way that they play the movie is that he was very conflicted because it did seem like he felt part of her family at certain points. Like he even starts speaking the native tongue, right? With when the family's around, which was pretty cool. I like that. Um, so uh, yeah, no, I like that. I do think that like as far as it goes in the world of the movie, he was he was kind of on their side, even though he did ultimately betray them.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where it's like he was a dumb guy in the movie. He was a dumb guy who wasn't completely evil, and circumstances kind of led him to go more towards the dark side ultimately,
Right,
to
easily
the point.
manipulated by the much smarter elder statesman of De Niro.
Exactly. And by the end, he's like just going to go along with whatever De Niro says. And that it's like that when you're watching, especially as an outsider, you're me at least, I'm rooting for him to redeem himself,
Sure.
to do the right thing. And at the end, when he proves that no, he's just a complete shitbag with no honor, he has no good in him. It's like, oh man, that sucks. But
Well, we,
it's
we don't like
you
seeing
know,
Leo be a bad guy, right?
but I like that they go that way where it's like that is actually like probably what more evil people are, right? More evil people are probably like that whole thing where it's like I did not speak out, all that shit with the Nazis.
Right.
It's like one of those things where he's more like one of those guys rather than a De Niro, which is like what's worse, doing nothing or enacting the bad.
Mm.
Um, but that's a movie I really dug. I love the directing of it. I thought it looked great. It's a true story. It's like a fucked up piece of history. It's something that we are definitely going to do on our show at some point. Um, just a matter of finding the right block where it's like a movie like that where it's like 4 hours long.
Yeah,
You want
it's
to try to
long.
surround it with two shorter movies. I feel because otherwise it's like imagine we're
Crank it up
doing
a little
like
bit.
that Lawrence of Arabia and like I'm just gonna pick another epic like Ben Hur in like a
Yep.
month. It's like fucking 12 hours of movies. It's crazy.
Should watch that movie 1900. That's like a 5 hour
1900.
movie.
Who is it new?
No, it's like an old De Niro, Gerard Depardieu. It's like an old Italian movie.
Oh yeah, from 1976. It's 5 hours and 17 minutes. I never heard of this,
Chew
but
on
it's an
that one.
epic historical drama by Bertolucci. Oh
Yes,
man, we're gonna have to do this at some point.
bring that to the table.
Bring a 5 hour movie to the table and watch them want to fucking murder me.
That's great. Um, and FBI story with Jimmy Stewart. You ever heard of that one?
Which one?
FBI story.
I've never heard of that. Jimmy
Um,
Stewart, though? I love Jimmy Stewart.
because they mention it in the book Killers of the Flower Moon, because
Okay.
they first dramatized that situation in that movie. It's got a little tiny section, because they do try to cover other stuff in that movie as well. But it's a nice little companion to Killers of the Flower Moon, and kind of brings it outside the box a little bit, like a different angle of looking at things, where like one Indian dude just has all this random money and he's buying like 20 bathtubs and they're just in the yard because these white guys are coming just trying to take their money. They're all just trying to get the money back, right? Not to sound
Yeah.
like I'm anti-white or anything like that. I'm white and Indian, so
Okay.
we're all white
But
and Indian.
is it FBI story? Is that a true story?
I believe so. I believe so. I mean, you're
Uh,
the expert.
I got to look into it. I never heard of it. I mean, I love Jimmy Stewart though, and anytime I can do a movie with him, I want to do it because that means I get to do my Jimmy Stewart impersonation a whole lot.
That's a great Jimmy Stewart impersonation.
Oh, thank you.
And if you guys want to hear it, go buy last year's Christmas special
Oh
on
yeah,
Bandcamp.
there's a lot of Jimmy Stewart talk. We covered "It's a Wonderful Life" as a bonus.
I
This year we're
really
doing Die
liked
Hard.
listening to that. I liked that you guys liked the movie, like the other guys who hadn't seen it. You guys did a real good job with that.
Thank you. We did Die Hard this year, and I think it's fun. It's really good.
I can't wait. Next week, right? A week from today, and we're recording on Friday, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be out by this time next week.
Fuck yeah. Give me something to do while I'm at work.
That's your podcast, see? Your podcast is on his iPod and his iPod. You can't let old man Potter steal all the podcasts.
There you go. That's a little
Yeah.
taste. Sorry, I'm fighting off like a cold. I'm on like week 3.
Oh, it's okay.
Um, so we're rounding out about an hour. I could tell my story now.
Yeah,
Oh wait,
let's
no,
do
no,
it.
no, no.
All right.
Your script. I read your script.
Okay.
Um, when did you write that? Tell me about your script. Tell me your history.
So I wrote that one in probably 2011, 2012, which is why there's a bunch of dated references in it. Um, so I wrote that, and that was the movie that I really wanted to make, but it spanned the entire country of America.
Right.
Um, Making that movie would be a real fucking challenge. Uh, and the movie is basically about two young serial killers who are going across the country and committing murders in different cities, trying to break the all-time kills record. And as they're doing it, they're going to different baseball stadiums because they're also baseball fans. And the media is talking about them, the cops are after them, and it's a big, obviously, it'd be a big story if serial killers were going to different baseball games and killing people. It'd be a huge news story.
Definitely.
Um, so, like, there's a lot of things in the script, but one of the things that I like is almost like the media's obsession with numbers and tracking killers and like uh, this guy had this many kills and this person had this many kills, and it's like by doing that you're almost creating like baseball stats for these people,
I
you know.
referenced that in my Friday the 13th movie, Midnight Bloodshed. The one kid comes up to the podcasters and he's like, "Look, these are not, we're just telling, setting the facts straight here. These you should not idolize these people." Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, but it's like it's a real thing the media does, which I think is so shitty, where like they'll like be like, oh, the Vegas shooter had 55 kills or whatever. That's the most since the Virginia Tech guy got 19 or whatever. You know what I mean? It's
Right,
like
right.
just talking about that like it's some record to aspire to. I think is so fucked up. And what the movie really is, like aside from that commentary, the real thing the movie is about is it's about me and Steve, my friend, trying to make movies and make it in movies. And the serial killing thing is just kind of the weird fucked up metaphor where it's like two guys who are just trying to accomplish the impossible and make a name for themselves, you know? And it could be anything and the story would translate. But like in my head it was always, it's me and Steve trying to make movies and I just twisted us into horrible serial killing monsters. Um, and obviously there's that baseball commentary as well and like the
A
FBI
lot of
guy
baseball talk in this
represents
movie.
there is and like there's little subtle references too that like I was really doing a lot of baseball research at the time. Like there's so many little things. Like there's one moment where they're in Detroit and like they throw like $1 to a bum or something like that as they're walking by, and the bum says "Bless you, boys," which is an obscure baseball reference you would only get if you're the most hardcore of hardcore baseball nerd, where it's like it was a. And I remember I wrote the script 15 years ago, so I'm going on cold information. But I want to say like the 1950 something Tigers were like there was like a saying "Bless you, boys" to them or something like that, something to that effect. So I snuck that in there where it's like most people won't know, but if you're a hardcore baseball fan, you'll pick up that little reference. Um, and like the FBI agent who's after them is, I always try to juxtapose their lives of like brightly colored things and um, like baseball stadiums and conversations and fun, where he has a drab FBI office that's dull and boring and his life sucks, and really what he always represented in my head was he's a metaphor for a real job in a real world and working a 9 to 5 and living like that, the way I live now. It's like the way most people live, and it's
Right.
like the serial killers are like this is also my thing with fiction where like um I think that there should always be something deeper behind whatever you're doing, and like you can translate their message of like, okay, they're trying to accomplish this goal of being the serial killers with the most like kills. It's fucked up, it's bad, we can recognize it, but we all have like goals and wishes and dreams. These are guys who are just doing it, so you kind of end up almost rooting for them to get it, but you shouldn't. And it's
Sure.
a metaphor for anybody with a dream and trying to accomplish something. And the FBI agent is trying to stop them, and like, you know, he's trying to bring them back to the real world almost and catch them. And that's kind of the metaphor in my head when I wrote it, other than it being like a serial killer story. And there's been times, obviously, I've aged out of the role now because they're like young guys in their 20s. But there's been times where like I was like, I should just get the camera, and me and Steve should just do a cross country road trip and film all our shit just in the car. Me and Steve, because it's
So
all
that was the plan
conversations.
for you two to play those parts?
No, no, I never wanted to play the part. I'm not a good enough actor to play Marcus, who's the lead character. But Marcus is based on me more, and the other character Wayne is based on Steve more. But uh, I've had the idea before, like when I was like I still want to make this movie. I was like I should just get the car. Me and Steve will go across country. We'll go to baseball games. We'll film all the car stuff. We'll get different actresses for different hotel scenes. We'll get one actress to come across with us, and we'll film most of the movie handycam style. And then we'll have enough put together that like we can get the little scenes we need with the FBI agent and the other guy, who in my head is Reginald Van Johnson
Sure. I was
from
gonna say it's funny because you wrote that it's uh, a black guy with
Sheriff
like
Winslow.
a white like cowboy hat,
Yeah.
and there are two movies that have the same type of character. The David Gordon Green Halloween has like a black cop with a cowboy hat, and X has like a black cop with a cowboy hat.
X. Oh yes, yes, yes. Well, this was written way before that.
Right, right. I just was like, man,
Yeah.
like, is that a thing?
So I'll tell you what my idea was, and like obviously I had my like dream casting at the time when I wrote it. Like I always wanted, I wanted Michael Aragorn to be Marcus.
Who's that?
Am I saying his name right?
Angelano.
Is that his name?
He's in Red State.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Angelano. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I wanted him to play my role, be Marcus. And I'm drawing a blank now on who I wanted Wayne to be, but I had another guy in mind. I wanted like like a John Hamm type,
Hmm.
to play the FBI agent. The old black sheriff, I wanted Reginald Van Johnson. His name was Sheriff Winslow, and
Yes,
I
yes, that's right.
it is in my head. It is the next stage of Carl Winslow's life in Family Matters. So like there's a part in the script where he's talking with the FBI agent and they're having like this bonding moment almost. So they're talking to each other and basically he's like, after Harriet died, I lost touch with this one. Eddie, Steve, sorry, my daughter is always away with Steven, and like it's alluded to that it's Family Matters without like breaking IP shit. But I always thought that was fun to like what happens to Carl Winslow, and I was like,
Sure.
Reginald Van Johnson's a great actor, and like he's been underused for 30 years. So like I was like, I think this would be a great role for him to stretch his wings, and the movie almost did get kind of sold or made at one point. So when I was writing Uninvited Guest, or when I was getting ready for production, I had run a bunch of ads on like Craigslist and stuff like that. And I was talking to this production company, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm getting ready to shoot in like a couple months. And I sent them Uninvited Guest, and I was like, but this is what I really want to make. And I sent them the script, and they loved it. And it looked like they were going to buy it. And then it was like, they wanted me to give them money so they could produce it, and we were going to shoot like some scenes and then like get scenes from b-roll from another movie to like flesh it out, and like these courtroom scenes and all this. And they wanted to make like this Frankenstein movie, and then they wanted me to like compromise on some stuff and fund the movie myself. And I was like, well, if I'm funding the movie myself, why do I have to compromise?
Right.
And I'll tell you off mic who the production company is if you want to look them up. But I don't want to put them on blast. And they wanted Robert Loggia in the movie, and like, it was a whole thing. They wanted like I think they wanted Robert Loggia to play the FBI guy.
Sure.
Um, but it was like I'm especially proud of the opening like 9 pages of the script.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't read it in years, but I always thought that was pretty cool. And I always wanted to make that script. I don't think you can make it today. I think that's a script that needed to be made in a pre Me Too era, in like 2010 or 12, because society has changed so much since then. You just kind of can't do the
Right.
things those characters are doing.
They're pretty brutal and despicable, the things they do.
Yeah, so it's like you could not get away with that in a movie today. Whereas like even Natural Born Killers, they do some of the same things. So if I was ever to revisit the movie, it would have to undergo a bunch of changes. Um, but I don't foresee me making that movie anymore. I can recognize that movie's time to exist has passed, and I'm gonna make something else soon, hopefully.
You fucking better.
My next thing is, it's funny. The only genre I want to play in right now, other than like my dream western I've had in my head since high school, is I just want to do horror, because that's the genre where you're still allowed to like take risks and big swings and play. So my next thing is going to be like a fun throwback 80s slasher, and then the thing after that, if I have my way, is going to be an A24 style horror movie.
Now, A24 style, like an artsy fartsy movie, is what you're saying?
It's not artsy fartsy, but a little bit more in that
Classy.
range. Honestly, I shouldn't say A24, because that probably is a little too heady. I would say it's more Lionsgate. Its closest cousin would be Krampus,
Okay,
but less funny, you know.
sure.
And there's a bit more commentary in that one, whereas the '80s one is just, it's fun.
Right, right. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, a
Yeah,
long time ago. Well, cool. Yeah, no, I read your script and it was fine.
you liked it.
It was okay. Like I said,
All
it's a
right.
little brutal. It's a little brutal. Not that I distance myself from brutality in horror movies. Um,
Well, it's a different day and age when it was made, and when I wrote that, I think I'm just a little over 23,
was it your
if
first?
that. No, that was my. So the first one was like a crime comedy, then The Uninvited Guest, then this, then the mockumentary. So that was my third.
Gotcha. You've never written anything since?
Uh,
Feature?
I
Feature
have
length?
I have like 60 pages of this like Sharknado style B movie, which I want to finish one day, even though I've kind of lost the passion for the project.
Sure.
But I just want to finish that script, and then the next thing will be the horror movie. Just you know, uh, trying to get the money sorted in my life and get other operations flowing consistently to where there's more income coming in and they're kind of self-sustaining in a way.
Sure. You hear that,
But
people?
yeah,
Buy the fucking Christmas special so that we can get Brian Rupert behind a camera.
I want to. And I've had a documentary project in mind, which I really want to make while I still can, because I'm not going to be able to make this one forever, and I don't want to talk about details of it, but I think if I made it, it would make a lot of people happy, and it would be a really cool doc. It's an idea I've had for years and years and years that I'm hoping I could get to.
Well, hell yeah, dude. Making movies. I love it. I love hearing about people making movies. I love making movies myself. So fuck yeah. Keep it up. Keep it up.
I'm trying.
All right. So I'll tell my story that I've never told anybody. So I don't know where to start it exactly, but so I live in an apartment at a complex that I used to live before. So me and my wife and her daughter, we lived in the same apartment complex, and then we got a house, and then we were at the house for a couple years, and then we moved out back to here. Um, but before we did that, and that was earlier this year. Uh, so when we were still at the house, just before we moved, I remember going to work, and my job's like right down the street. I remember there being like a lot of cops and people were talking about, man, the cops, like, they wouldn't let us through. So I live on the other side of the freeway, and I looked up what was going on, and there was like a shooting, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh, that's the address of the apartments where we used to live, and it was horrible. Some teenage girl like shot and killed her dad, and shot and
Oh,
killed like her little brother. Like she sent her dad to go get ice cream or something, right, and killed him when he came back. And she had like a little sister that like locked into a bedroom that she didn't get to, thank God. And I was like, man, that's fucked up. I used to live there. And then we moved back in like weeks later, right?
the same place?
Well, hold on, just hold on. Don't jump the gun. Don't put the cart before
Okay.
the horse. The same apartment complex, and uh, so because we like it here, it's got a garage and we can put our shit in. And when we first moved in to this new apartment in the same complex, and there's a lot of weird noises in here, right? Like at night and shit like that. It's like, what the fuck? And I don't believe in ghosts, right? I'm not that guy. I turn my nose up at that shit. Um, but it's weird, right? Like, what are these noises? Why are we hearing these noises? And then it starts to click, right? The lady at the front was like, "Oh, we haven't been able to put anyone in this place, in this apartment." And then I'm like, "Oh shit, there was that double murder in one of these apartments." And I'm like, "Oh fuck, are we living in like a murder apartment?" And I didn't want to tell my wife because she kind of believes in ghosts. And I didn't want to be a whole deal like, oh, we got to go somewhere else, right? We just fucking moved in. And I didn't want to tell my family in case they come and they stay. I don't want them to be
Yeah.
freaked out either. And like, there was really nobody I could tell about this without them maybe freaking out about it. But then ultimately, I don't know where it happened. I don't know which apartment it was. But I started thinking like, oh, I still get some mail from the previous, person who lived here, occupant, and that name doesn't match up with the name in the article that I read.
Okay.
So,
All
so I
right.
know anticlimactic ending to that story, but like for a while there, I was thinking that I was living in like a murder apartment.
Oh, I'd be thinking that too.
And like the noises stopped. I'm sure it was just a matter of running water through the pipes and the AC and the heater
Yeah.
and an empty apartment just getting shit going again. But
The
yeah,
usual house noises.
so yeah, that was my one story that I've never told. So I hope everyone is happy to sit through Ice Harvest and everything else to get to that story.
I think I made it worth it.
But other than that, anything else?
Let's see what's going on. Honestly, just like I'm in like a work vacuum. Um, there's almost nothing else going on that isn't work. Uh, so it's like work, 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 work. Raise kid. Work, 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 work.
Well,
Um,
Thanksgiving's coming up. You got big plans for Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday. And this is a stand-up bit I'm working on, but I'll just kind of say it. It's like Halloween is for kids. Christmas is for the wives and for the kids. Thanksgiving, though, that's the man's holiday. That's the day for us. That's the day we get to eat, we get to watch football, and we get to sit on a couch. It's everything dudes want to do. It's the ultimate dude holiday. And it's like, that's that little window just for us, Thanksgiving. So, like, I'm looking forward to just watching football all day and eating, and then going to the general store for Black Friday.
Dude, you guys have been talking about it. I'm so jealous. I wish I could be there.
What, dude? If you got to come one year, if you ever want to meet TESD people, it's by far the best way to meet like everybody in TESD town.
I'm so bummed out that I can't be there. Um, Thanksgiving at your house this year, or where do you guys go? What do you do?
We go to my mother's on Staten Island. That's usually the standard for us. We go there for the main meal, and then afterwards we go to my wife's for dessert. My
How
wife's
about them Jets?
the in-laws. What?
How about them Jets?
I mean, they're gonna go 7-10, which was my prediction. They'll screw themselves out of a good draft pick. Nothing good will ever come from them. They're a cursed franchise. I hate their fucking guts because I love them so much. And it's just never going to happen for them. They are going to torture me week in and week out until I'm fucking dead. When the
Uh,
only thing I want to see is just one championship one time. I just need to see it once.
I know nothing about football, but I've got a coworker that does, and whenever you're posting shit, I'll go over to him and be like, "Look, how's this sound? How's this line up?" And he'll laugh at your posts and shit.
All right, good. I'm glad. Someone's getting joy out of my pain.
He's a Steelers fan.
Must be rough to root for one of the best franchises ever.
Yes, thank you for being on the podcast, and thank you for talking shit with me for an hour or so.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Uh, thanks so much, man. Do you mind if I plug my shit one last time?
Go for it.
Check out Reviewing History. It's my comedy history podcast. We watch movies based on true stories. We tell you what's real and fake in them, and we just crack jokes the whole time. It's a ton of fun. But the real reason I'm here, Black Friday at the stroke of midnight Eastern Standard Time. You're going to want to go to bandcamp.com, go to Reviewing History, click it. You'll see the Christmas Freak Off. Make sure to buy that. There's a bundle with last year's if you want that as well. Anything you buy for last year's, we'll send the appropriate amount to St. Jude. I personally, whatever my third of the cut of the new Christmas album will be, I'm going to match that and send it to St. Jude. That's my personal pledge. I'm not forcing that on the other guys, though. But I want this album to be a big hit. So it's a 4-hour Christmas podcast with one part of all games and fun and songs and music, and the other part we're going through Die Hard top to bottom, making jokes the whole time. It's a lot of fun. It's called the Christmas Freak Off. Go to Reviewing History on Bandcamp. Follow that page. Follow Reviewing History everywhere, especially YouTube. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Absolutely. And I'm Matt Bonta.
I'm Brian Ruppert.
That's Sequel Podcast for this week. Peace out.